Hello everyone, how are you doing? My name is Andy Liles, and I, on last Monday on the 4th of March 2024, had the delight and pleasure to present to the first group, the first coming together of the Spark Collective, the educators group that Nikki put together. And I had a wonderful time meeting the people who are on the call and sharing with them some of my story and some of the ideas that I've got for the work that I'm doing going into coaching around the young person. I am an educator of over 20 years in many different settings, from the United States to many places in the UK and here in Malawi where I am still based. And over the course of the last 20 years, my sense of purpose around growing good people, growing young people, has brought me to where I am now. I've always seen myself as a teacher and as an educator, and as the education system feels increasingly out of step with what I am most passionate about in the role of growing young people, so I have looked to different ways of getting what I believe are the skills and the qualities that young people really need, on top of the knowledge, not instead of, but on top of the knowledge that schools are trying to provide them. And I say trying because I think schools are under such time pressure, and young people are under such pressure for the exams, that really knowledge is never given the chance to seep in. They have to learn, revise, and just try and memorize as much information as possible. It stays on the surface, but the speedier it is, the more it skims. It doesn't ever allow to go deep. So knowledge acquisition, the actual acquiring of knowledge, I think is minimal, unfortunately, in schools. So young people leave schools having got the exams, having got the piece of paper, but don't necessarily have the joined up knowledge that will be ultimately most useful. And then that knowledge isn't joined together with really fantastic thinking skills and character qualities that when you make a synergy of that, creativity is the result, in my opinion. So just wanted to share a couple of slides that I shared with the group on that night, so anybody who joins the collective later is aware of the work that I do. And if you would like to collaborate, then you can get in touch with me through the Spark group, and you can find me online at andylilescoaching.com if I forget to say anything later on. So I established Andy Liles Coaching last year, and it's still very much an establishment. With every week and every month that goes past, I'm getting clearer and clearer with what exactly the mission is. But essentially, I am looking to coach around the young person, to bring the skills and qualities that they need to be successful, to be future-proofed, and to thrive in the future that we just don't know what it will look like. So as well as coaching the young person, I like to coach around them as well. That might include family, parents, siblings to support a brother or sister, or other important family members and other important individuals for that young person. And more broadly, I like to coach and support schools and other organisations who work with young people so that they can get the best out of them and help get the skills and qualities so that the young people can succeed and that they can support the young people in their own contexts. This has come about after 20 years in education, and it goes right back to 2001 when I was 17 and got shipped off to the United States. I signed up, I paid for it, and I signed up, but I didn't know where I was going. But I ended up at a place called Round Lake Camp, which was a summer camp for neurodivergent young people, for boys and girls from the age of about 8 up to 18, and sometimes even beyond that. And as a very young person myself, I was on a real quick crash course as to how to understand children who were understood, misfits, those who didn't fit in or didn't fit the mould and didn't get into the box that is demanded of so much of the societies that we are in. And that includes schools and education. Round Lake Camp was the only place where the kids that I met there, that's the only place that they felt at home, that's the only place they felt accepted, and they found a home from home in this camp. And really, ever since then, all the work that I've done since has been to try and support and understand and hear and listen to and ultimately grow those people who've been misunderstood. Not necessarily those with a particular learning difficulty or a neurodivergency or a health condition, but any child who just needs to be listened to. You don't need to have a condition for that. From Round Lake Camp, I moved to do a similar role for the YHA in Derbyshire, And after qualifying as a teacher, I spent 8 of the best years of my professional life at a place called Lawton School, and during my time there we developed the slogan, the Happiness Specialist School. All the schools around us and all the schools in the UK at that time were specialists of one kind or another, whether that's arts, whether that was maths or STEM or science or technology. Every school, particularly high schools, had a specialism, and we wanted ours to be happiness, and that was we used that as a tagline. We also had an unofficial slogan of doing less well and creating the space for young people to think, to ponder, to assimilate, and to create in a way that is becoming less possible now. From there, I moved to St Andrew's International Primary School out here in Malawi, and for 5 years there I worked with the school's senior leadership team in a variety of roles, including assessment, including developing a coaching team for the staff, for implementing a lot of IT, and had a great time with that. And again, it's a really superb school whose values were very much in tune with my own, and we grew good people as well as support them academically. You can do both, and schools at the best, I believe, do that really well. After leaving St Andrew's International Primary School, I returned to the UK. I took on a headship and lasted all of 2 months. I realised very quickly, after getting my MPQH and all of the senior leadership's experience that I'd had, that I realised that you really had to be a head teacher. You had to really want to be a head teacher if you're going to survive as a head teacher. And I think over time I came to realise that managing a school within a school structure, an education system that seemed to be increasingly diametrically opposed to what I saw was important for young people, what I view as being key to young people being successful, I was not compatible for that system. So I left after a couple of terms. It was a really interesting experience, but there were a lot of problems that contributed to that being not the best success. But I think it's really important to reflect on the times when things were less successful, as we would hopefully do with young people. Something I think I said on the call is that we need to give young people the chance to fail, and schools just don't provide the time to do that, and they expect children to succeed all the time, when really failure is a really important part of learning. You can learn an awful lot more by falling off your bike. You're more likely to get on it and ride it successfully, having had that failure. So after I left my headship, I spent some time working with an organisation called Ubuntu, and I was responsible for developing its Usawa program, and that was a program for supporting schools in Africa to evaluate themselves through the holistic lenses of heart, head and hands, so that they could view the school and every part of the school in terms of academics, in terms of practicalities, and in terms of ethos and vision and character. And a long time ago I developed a 3-circle Venn diagram to represent the head, the knowledge, the heart, the characters, and the hands, the skills, the manual skills and the thinking skills. And years after I did that, I happened to see that the Centre for Curriculum Redesign, which is a great organisation, probably put together the most comprehensive evaluation of curricula around the world, and put forward a really well thought out and well researched model for how curricula can be developed to include and incorporate what is going to be needed for the 21st century. And again, that's not getting rid of knowledge, and it's not relegating knowledge to something that's less important, but really evaluating what knowledge young people need going into the jobs and into the workplace of tomorrow. I would argue that you don't need super specific information, and certainly it's a little bit like in maths. Learning to think mathematically is probably far more effective than learning a load of different techniques for calculation that don't join together. And if ideas don't join together like a language, whether that's language of maths, language of music, or the communicative languages, then the ideas of thinking don't join together. For me, that's a little bit like comparing a really well-grown oak tree that's got solid roots and solid foundations. That's what I want to grow in our young people. And right now the education system is not growing oak trees of our young people, but instead creating Jenga blocks of really precarious, taller buildings that represents the children's retention of information, but doesn't necessarily give them the foundation and the groundwork for the knowledge, so that when they're tested and then when they're put into a situation where they have to do something with that knowledge, the information can easily fall apart and the resilience of knowledge goes. I'm aware, I'm recording this outside, that I'm near a very busy road, so I do apologise for any noise that you might hear. Another part of the SARA program that I did that I found really interesting was working with others to sort of predict the future in terms of what jobs would be under threat from technology, and particularly with how AI has come in over the last couple of years. Really, AI and artificial intelligence and the advancements of technology has been something we've been seeing for a good 15-20 years. This was always going to come. I think AI has sped things up massively, so everyone's talking about this now. But we put this together about 2-3 years ago, and really looked at how technology was already automating a lot of manual, low-skilled jobs, and even IT, before AI came in, was starting to take some of the routine knowledge jobs, whether that's clerical or otherwise. And really the ChatGPT zone, which we've overlaid on this, is where a lot of manual jobs and a lot of knowledge jobs overlap, and ChatGPT can do so many of the jobs in this area. The one area that I believe is not going to be affected by AI at all is going to be the jobs that require humanity, heart. And I believe that there should be a change and an increasing emphasis on the human qualities that technology can't provide, because that's going to be ultimately the differentiator for organisations in the future, and for those who are going to be self-employed. You're going to stand out by who you are as opposed to what you know and what you can do, I believe. So what do young people need? This for me is one of the most powerful slides that I've got, and it is the basis of the coaching that I do with young people, and it's a collection of skills and qualities, and some of which overlap in skills and qualities, and there's can always be arguments about what you would place where, but the many different skills and qualities that I believe young people need, and this is backed up by a lot of research and a lot of feedback from businesses saying what they want from their employees, but they have to train them in so that they're functional in the workplace. Unfortunately, schools don't rely on these anything like as much as they ought to do. There's many bolt-on programs and many extracurricular programs that touch on this. Residentials take place, EPQ projects take place as well that support this, but it's not front and center. And we spoke at the meeting on Monday that if it's not measurable, as in if the school's not accountable for it, it's not going to be prioritized because of how stretched schools are. And it's not the school's fault. It's really important to stress that. It's not the school's fault, it's not the teacher's fault. They've got such pressures acting on them that dissuades them from instilling the skills and qualities inherently, ubiquitously in the young people that they teach. And I would really like to see a step change and a redesign of the curriculum to reflect the fact that skills and qualities are going to matter as much as knowledge. So it is a balance. That's what Usama meant, by the way. It meant knowledge. And unfortunately, getting these skills and qualities to young people has got many barriers. We should remember that skills and qualities are not just taught at school, and equally they're not just taught by family. There is the saying in Africa, you need a village to raise a child, and in that same way, skills and qualities and knowledge can be learned by young people anywhere. That can include YouTube videos, that can include media. All of these have an influence and an impact to young people, as do family, friends, schools, extracurricular activities beyond school, work experience that they might do, and professional support that the young person or the parents around the young person bring in for the child. And the barriers, I'm not going to go through them all, but they're on there, but a lot of them involve time, opportunities, costs, and until it's recognised that these are the priority, they're going to be pushed to the bottom. They're not here now. And the problem with education as well, I believe, is that because you don't see the impact of education immediately, it doesn't get higher enough up the agenda, and nothing is given enough time to bed in. To implement something like this, you're only going to see the results of this 5, 10, 15 years down the line, when enough children have spent enough years in the education system which prioritises skills and qualities. So the barriers are there, and an organisation like the Spark is one of the big answers to breaking down these barriers, because the more that we can meet and collect and collaborate and speak with a collective voice, the more that people are going to sit up, take notice, understand, recognise what good the skills and qualities will have. And for me as a coach, part of that is making clear to young people and to the adults around the young people how beneficial coaching, whether you're receiving coaching as a young person or whether you're even learning the coaching skills so that you can employ coaching yourself in the work that you do in working with others, is going to be so invaluable for young people. The experience of just going through coaching can grow them immeasurably. It's a really concentrated experience of young people exploring, having the time to listen, having the time to think about their own ideas, and being able to vocalize their thoughts, things that have stayed within themselves for a long time. So coaching is really exciting. I won't talk in detail in this video about what coaching is, but you can go to my website to get a flavour for what coaching is if you're not familiar with it. And if you'd like to find out more, then you can always get in touch with a free call with me. So one last thing that I'd like to show you, if you're from a teaching background especially, is an idea or ideas that I've been mulling over with a few people around the coaching-based educator and really challenging the role of what a teacher is. In fact, I don't even like the word teacher, because a teacher for me is somebody who transmits and broadcasts information, as opposed to an educator which facilitates learning. And for me, teaching and learning as ideas are getting further apart, and unfortunately they're getting conflated, and they're apparently synonymous with one another in a lot of the media, whereas actually teaching is the transmission, learning is the receiving and the assimilating of information. And for me, a teacher in the traditional mold is making learning happen with decreasing effectiveness, because young people are demanding more and more interactivity, a two-way conversation, active teaching, active listening, and I believe listening should be at the centre of it. So this was just a quick slide I wanted to share with you about how a coaching-based educator, in partnership with technology, artificial intelligence, is exciting because it can take so much of the heavy lifting that teaching is, in terms of lesson planning, in terms of marking, in terms of resource creation or curation, in terms of the record keeping. Teachers spend hours on this, and while teachers need to be across the detail of the young people that they support, they really need to know them inside out, otherwise there is no point. All of the work that I've done in my 20 years has shown how important the relationship between the young person and the teacher is, that relationship, that connection you've got, multiplies the impacts you have as an educator. So you really do need to know that young person, including their strengths and the weaknesses academically, in their skills and in their character too. So you can see this for yourself, that on the left I believe that there are a lot of things that the teachers are doing right now that AI can take over, and machine learning can take over as well. There are going to be certainly some existing teaching skills outside of coaching skills that will be important as well, and that's down the middle. I won't read them out. And then many of the skills associated with coaching, I believe, are going to be the foundation of a reimagined educator's role, one which puts listening, understanding and development of young people's awareness front and centre, so that they have got the best foundations possible to learn and grow and thrive. That's it from me. Again, hopefully it's a nice conversation or a nice chat for you to listen to. 18 minutes isn't so bad, and if you'd like to get in touch, you can find me at andylilescoaching.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I am on Instagram as well, I'm on YouTube too, and I would love to hear from you. If you've got any ideas for collaboration, then come and find me. Thank you very much.